Hello, fellow YouTubers. I have been talking to the man upstairs, and he told me that I needed to talk to some of you. What the talk was supposed to be about, I'm not sure. But me, the satirical mathematician, I'm here to provide for whatever needs you may have. And now I exist between the satire, the irony, and the genuine, the low-Kirkenian even. Actually, wait, no. Low-Kirkenian. Flow-Kirkenianly. Flow-Kirk-6-7-uanly. Yes. Dude, who's trying to knock down my door? Anyways, I'm thinking about starting a podcast because making videos, it's kind of meh for me. I like talking and just going on rants and stuff, rambles. But doing the whole acting and the whole explaining and the blah with the mask on, actually the mask kind of seems uncomfortable. It's kind of like a mask, but of course that mask is not my true face. Of course, you'll never know what my true face looks like, because I'll never leak it. Or I could not even have a true face. I could be like Two-Face, walking around with a disfigured face, or like that one Joker in that one Gotham series, where he like took his face off and then like stapled it back on, and that was pretty cool. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Flow-Kirk-6-7-uanly. I may start speaking, and freaking out over the latest, newest, hottest mathematical trends right here. Actually, I don't even know if this video will upload to YouTube because there's no picture right now. I didn't give my camera app access to the camera. I'm just trying to see if it like works. If it'll make the file smaller or larger or what, or whatever. Yeah. I'm just talking about whatever. Living without constraints, without having to become satirical or genuine. You can't tell if I'm joking or not. That's post-irony, in fact. I shall now read a passage from Eugenia Cheng's book, Is Math Real? Children know that there are tons of things about the adult world they can't understand yet, and they're used to it. I'm sure this is one of the reasons they're less afraid of math despite not understanding it. Whereas when adults don't understand it, they think they're bad at it, or they remember being told they're bad at it. End quote. I quite like this book. It talks about how math phobia begins in educational institutions and spreads across the world. A bunch of misconceptions about math, about how it's really the logic of logical things. It exists within its own framework. It doesn't exist with really appeals to emotion or credibility. It's all logos, no pathos or ethos. Although, it does say that math kind of needs to be explained with a little bit of emotion so that you're attached to it, you understand it. So it gets through the thick fog of your mind and enters your private area of knowledge. It also talks about privilege, a bunch of left-wing stuff, really. Satirmath, I go to a fairly left-leaning school. It's prestigious one. And yeah, I've seen that schools with more privilege seem to lean more towards the left of the political spectrum, and I've wondered why that is. I've seen what right-wing politics have done to bias people, but I fear that left-wing politics are going to do the very same. It's kind of like going towards the positive and the negative. And I don't mean positive is good and negative is bad, I just mean two different ways. Or I could just use imaginary and real numbers, because, no. But you want to stay at a 0 point, the origin, where you're not going to stay in one quadrant of the coordinate plane. You're going to travel around it. You're going to, your beliefs are going to morph, but you're always going to have some sense of stabilization, sense of belonging in one place. Me personally, I'm biased towards empathy, sympathy, and a bunch of, inclusivity stuff. Yeah, the left-leaning bias, or maybe it's centrism, I'm not sure. Which leans into one of my ideologies. Even though I'm satirical, even though I kind of want to use a bunch of straw man arguments and poke fun at people, I still want to be genuine. I still want to speak clearly, not all the time as a joke. Have real discussions. Yeah, but sometimes I'm too lazy to do that. And oftentimes those real discussions are talking with myself, or into the camera, as you may see. Right now, I'm talking to myself, but in a few minutes I will upload this to YouTube for all to see. Another quote I quite like from Is Math Real? It's one about, you know how there's Pi Day, March 14th, right? Although, it kind of only works if you're using the US format of time, where it's like day, month, year. It's like 3, 1, 4. Eugenia Cheng proposes a no I day, which is going to be on February 29th. So the next I day will be in 2028, and the one after that is going to be in 2032. To quote, but then again, I've also decided that along with Pi Day, we can have I Day, for the imaginary number I. That this should be the 29th of February, because I is periodic. It goes around in circles of 4, because I times I is -1, so I cubed is -I, and I to the power of 4 is 1. This means that if you keep multiplying, it just goes I, -1, -I, 1, around and around and around, getting back to I every 4, just like leap years. And I've decided that I has no digits, so we've already finished reciting all of them. Whereas Cheng means that, and Pi Days is usually about competition of memorization and cooking pies. And it's kind of very American culture centered. And I Day is gonna be about celebrating mathematics, I assume. And since I has no digits, it's an imaginary number, there's not really gonna be any focus on memorization, which isn't really one of the core things of mathematics. It's more about building things on and thinking abstractly, not memorizing crude facts that aren't explained. To continue, I like the idea of I Day as a little pushback against the idea of pi as a stant, but it's a fundamental constant relative to a particular context. And in each context, the concept of pi tells us something about the relationship between squares and circles and their contexts. End quote. I was also thinking about number systems. I was going to make a video about number systems, but then I looked over and realized it was like 11 something, almost 12 o'clock, which means I'm going to have to go outside and do something. Can't really record while doing that. I'm going to have a haircut, and that's going to suck, because I quite like my hair. It's very nice, even though you don't get to see behind the mask when I'm recording videos. It's quite fluffy. I like it. like it a bit more if it was like wolf cut, but you do you, or me do me, I guess. Yes, number systems. There are real numbers, imaginary numbers, and they're put into a place 10, base 10. Wait, no, place value 10 and base 10 are the same thing. So yeah, base 10 system with Hindu Arabic numerals. This is the thing that you see every day. 12 means 10 plus 2, 13 means 10 plus 3, 4.2 means 4 plus 2 tenths. There are other systems like base 2, which computers use as like 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 1. You know, base 2 binary. It could be base 3, which could be 0 1 2. Let me think. Base 3, that would mean. Okay, so 1 would be the second place value, so that would be 3. 2 would be the first place value. So 1 2 in base 3 would be equal to 5. If you write down 1 2 in base 3, so it's gonna look like 12. 1 2, first place value is 1, second place value is 2. Then a person who can only think in base 3 would imagine an amount of objects. So one object, one object, one object, one object, and one object, which in our base 10 way of thinking would be 5. Maybe I'll put a link to a video explaining more about place value systems. I'm talking about different bases, like negative bases, imaginary, rational, irrational, quaternion bases. Oh, I've been talking for 12 minutes. I also thought about numbers that have infinite digits, the p-adic systems, prime-adic systems. It's a number with infinite digits to the left. You know, irrational numbers have infinite digits to the right of the decimal place, but the p-adics have a... I just realized how that sounds. Okay, the prime-adics would have infinite digits to the left. And these numbers have interesting properties, as I've seen in a Veritasium video. I can't remember an exact one, but I think an infinite series of 9s to the left of the decimal place being added on with another infinite set of 9s would equal another number, and that number is assumed to be 2. So it's like 1 plus 1 equals 2, but using very unconventional methods of writing. I've thought about the French system too. I haven't studied French personally, so I don't know, maybe a person taking a French class could come in and correct me. I'm pretty sure after the number 80, it switches over to a base 20 system, where the digits are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. But imagine 19 as its own number, not a combination of 10 plus 9, or like 1, 9, but imagine 19 having its own symbol. And whenever you go back to 20, it's represented as a 1 followed by a 0. And that's what a base 20 system would be. I think that's how French people count. Ugh, the French. Yeah, stinky. I'll stop talking right now because my mouth is getting quite saturated with saliva. Can you hear it? Oh, how disgusting. I'm gonna go put on some perfume and I'm going to jump off of the roof of my building. Goodbye. That was a joke, by the way.